And the way I would talk about it in the hierarchy is your adrenal glands first. So if your cortisol is not in balance, nothing else is going to get better. Your thyroid's not going to get better. Your sex hormones are not going to get better.
Yeah.
And I would say adrenals, thyroid second, and then sex hormones third. And the way I would explain that is that we would die immediately without our adrenal glands. Mm-hmm. But we can live without our thyroid glands. We're not going to feel very good. But we could live without our thyroid glands, and we could live without our ovaries or our testes. We're not going to feel very good, but we can live without them. So the adrenals trump it all. And then I learned about insulin, and insulin trumps it, all of those.
Yeah.
If your insulin is not in balance, you will never, ever be healthy. Those are just facts.
Exactly. And you can't balance any other hormone if you don't balance insulin. That's it.
No, and we're talking about hormones specifically, but let's face it, insulin is once you get your insulin is a marker for complete metabolic health. So if you're insulin resistant, you are not metabolically healthy. Your hormones, none of that is just also going to be bad, but everything else is going to be bad too. If your insulin's not in check, and usually, not always, and we'll get into these details. Usually insulin and your glucose are go hand in hand. I will say there's some very specific instances where glucose can be slightly elevated and you have low insulin. And I'm just going to say, if you're an endurance athlete, that's usually the case. Mm-hmm. And insulin's more important than your fasting blood sugar. So, okay, there. I'll let you talk now.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And so that's why I've spent, 20 years helping women to understand that, because, the blood sugar balance and understanding how we can affect insulin. And it's not just what we eat, it's how we sleep, it's the timing of the food, it's, obviously the balance of that food. And when we can understand that, then that helps, like I said, like if you're dealing with fertility, if you're dealing with weight loss, if we're dealing with even autoimmune disease, right? So like women are much more sensitive to stress, and that's why there's many more women who get autoimmune disease. And so I see a lot of women who are coming into my practice with Hashimoto's, hypothyroid, and so it has to be this very, 360 approach where you are looking at what is stressing the body. And one of the number one things that we can control, and it's not outside of us, but it's actually something that we get to choose, is, how do we support our body, take the stress off of it? And one of those things is definitely managing insulin.